Good evening, friends. This side Rahul Magan here is a Group Chief Executive Officer, Treasury Consulting, and also a venture capitalist. Standing today on 2nd October 2019, practically 2:30 in the morning, we are going to be shooting a pretty important video about something which is happening in the distressed assets worldwide, specifically Southeast Asia region. We know that Southeast Asia region is facing distress. There is no doubt about that. Well, the two names when it comes to distress are India and China. But unfortunately, our egos, unfortunately, our patriotism will never allow to think what is happening in the society. We're going to have a separate video in that regards, but in short that when we were even not born, right, when our even parents were not born, then we used to have East India Company. A company floated by the Britishers in India, and that East India Company eventually ruled the entire India. We know that all the Indian nationals and the non-Indian nationals at least aware about the struggle of a country to get the independence back. Several thousand people contributed their life. Several wrong things happened and all, and finally India got the independence, to be honest. Now, similarly, the same kind of structure is coming nowadays when the private equity players worldwide are, taking up the positions in India. The only difference would be the, say, 1800 or whatever, when the East India Company would be established. The only difference would be then it used to be the bullet and the gun who ruled the show for Britishers, while here it is money for the private equity players that rule the show. And that is pretty sad that our media is not reporting that. Almost the entire country has been sold. Almost the entire country has been sold. Like majority of the strategic assets are unsold. In fact, the big names like India Bulls, and today it is Yes Bank. The way Yes Bank sold today, and we already warned people several months ago that Yes Bank on the verge of default. On our WhatsApp groups also, we have already warned that Yes Bank is on the verge of default. And I never feel shy saying so that there is a big red flag we have in the Yes Bank. But we know that regulators and media will get to know about this red flag once they will start, once they will wake up. And that wake up would happen very late, just like PMC Bank. Almost 73% of the loan book, right, which is over $1 billion, approximately $1 billion, is given to a real estate company, which is HDIL, and that to a bankrupt real estate company. And worst or worse, the senior management of the PMC Bank is having stake in the company. So would that be possible if that possible that 73%, which is approximately greater than 2/3, over 2/3 of the loan book is given only to one person? Which concentration risk, which economist, which business school, which business magazine, and more importantly, which professor explains that around 2/3, which is greater than of 2/3, more than 2/3 of the loan book can be given to one person? Whether it's a AAA rated company, it could be Apple also, but the definition of the concentration risk will never allow that. Will never allow that. And from the very first day, we learn about concentration risk in the business school. But anyways, these kind of fundamentals actually matters in business school. But once you come in the real life, you will get to know about the game of money, the hard reality of the life. We got a news from Deloitte wherein they did some study on the non-performing asset, and that report came in the public domain. So again, we took the data from public domain. This suggests that the non-performing asset by the banks in the Southeast Asia region, remember it's Southeast Asia, it's not the world. In the Southeast Asia region increased by 23%, not 1%, 2%, 23%. So the non-performing asset in the bank's books jumped by 23%, and now that's standing to 640 billion. 640 billion. China accounts 295 billion out of this, which tantamount to 46% of the total corpus, while India accounts the second rank, which is 160 billion, which tantamount to 25%. I will never feel shy saying so that both China and India are underreporting their numbers. I'm sure. I've never been an admirer of the fact that when it comes to the non-performing asset, it could be any country except Singapore who will report the actual numbers. Both China and India are reporting underreported numbers, and it is more than 30% underreporting which is happening. But nonetheless, the jobs do not end up here. Then while I love reading newspaper, we got this news, which is that we got this news around from 1% in financial year 17. You can see that from 1% in the financial year 17, foreign funds now, ARCs, asset reconstruction companies, are now holding 60% of the security receipts. So which is 59% increase. Now see this. Foreign funds such as Apollo Global Management and CDPQ have turned active buyers of the security receipt issued by the asset reconstruction companies, indicated increasingly confidence of overseas investors in Indian debt resolution debt resolution system. It is not the resolution, it is they wanted to buy at the throwaway prices, because they know that if something which is available, if this pen which is available at $5 and if it is available in $1 on any e-commerce website, the person will love to buy this pen. The article suggests that asset reconstruction companies securitize assets and sell the receipts to investors. Such security receipts were subscribed by either the institution such as bank that sold the asset or the ARC itself till 2017. In the past 2 years, lot of institutional investors, including global pension fund, we know that global pension fund taking aggressive position in India, domestic fund, foreign banks, private equity and hedge funds invested in all these instruments. The government has also allotted 100% foreign institutional portfolio investors compared to 74%. In 2018-19, foreign funds, bank, stress assets and the global pension fund subscribed 60% of that security receipts. 60%. Now here the game comes. The game lies here that now I would like to tell you the third part of the story. So the first part of the story is the Deloitte story. Deloitte published a report, say that the total non-performing asset increased by 23%, total is 640 billion, while China counts 46%, India 25%, together holds 71%. First part. Second part of the story, which confirms that around 60% of the security receipts, is being in the hands of the foreign players. That also confirmed. Third part, which is there, that the news, a very small part of the news came when he confirmed to our key resources. We got to know about the confirmation. They said that private equity players are doing one more thing, which is not coming in the public domain. So I will take an example. I will not give any name, but if let's take an example that if one private equity player taking a position in some company, here I don't give the name. So what they do, they immediately turn up the management. So one thing, they have the control. So just like Blackstone is having 100% ownership of the real estate portfolio of the basically India Bulls. So the person who will manage that real estate portfolio would surely of the India Bulls or surely of the Blackstone. Blackstone will surely have its own representative in that. They never let India Bulls run that story. It could be alternate also, like if Brookfield will buy Gale assets, pipeline asset, Brookfield want somebody to take care of that. They want their own person to take care of that rather than giving to Gale back and manage the show. So three things which are happening parallelly in India. Number one, pretty clear, is that the non-performing assets in Southeast Asia are growing. China and India are number one and number two. I will not say India underreporting the number. I am saying China also underreporting the number, and whatever number 295 and 160 billion respectively they said it's underreported. Who underreporting more? I don't know. It could be India, it could be China. I don't know. Second part come when the asset reconstruction company are predominantly dominated by the global pension fund, foreign fund, hedge funds and the key private equity players. But unfortunately our media is busy enough not to report this, because they would report this when the entire asset base would be sold to private equity. Then they will get time to report that. Third, what has happened, which is pretty important, that as and when private equity are getting the control of these assets, they replace Indian people and basically the Indian management and have their own players. In merger and acquisition parlance, this is known as synergy, which is very fancy name, which is known as synergy. But end objective is clear. It's just like WeWork. WeWork could be a tech startup in the SoftBank eyes. But one thing which is very clear, that WeWork is a failure now, alongside a lot of startups like Paytm. That's a fact. So similarly, what happened is that here private equity player take a position, He let management go forcibly or agreeably, and then they push the management, have their own person on the board. It is just like the East India Company when we were not born. In fact, our parents were not born. The East India Company used to have few representatives in India. Well, the Queen in London, or maybe his own team members, very close team committee members, used to run the East India Company. This is the way how India is actually being managed and run. But I'm sure 200% that media will not report to you. I'm sure that the business channels are busy debating about Rafael, the movie, The Big Boss, now Salman Khan, now Soha Ali Khan. The media is busy in that. And more importantly, now media is getting a lot of other material also, which is the US elections. US election is also not far, and 3 states in India are also facing elections. So media having ample of material now to debate, and all these strategic issues is definitely not the radar of the media. But one thing for sure, that sooner or later East India Company's second will definitely come. No one can stop now, at least the way we are actually heading. For this, we thank you very much. You know our mobile number +91 and Indian code 9899242978. I repeat, 9899242978. You know our fixed income platform www.fixedincome.global. Have a great time.